Well,
P&L.
so two projects are just individually, they're pretty much standalones in terms of VR, but they are part of a larger multi-platform strategy and franchise and story world.
Okay.
It might premiere as VR, but there's much more to it, and other media available.
And other revenue streams.
Exactly.
Well,
but in
I'm
terms
going
of-
to throw it open to Monica, just because, again, we are going to run out of time, and I want to make sure that you're patiently sitting in Berlin in a white room. So, the projects you're working on, how are they funded? I mean, do you have a pattern?
Which one? The
Well, any of them. I mean, just do you have any advice for the aspiring VR content producers here in terms of where to look for money?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things. As just being said, and in terms of not just looking to do VR experience, but connecting it to something larger that can also exist across the media that is established. What's amazing about VR is that if you make it any good at all, it gets so much attention. It's really written about, it's really seen by not all the eyeballs, but the eyeballs that you really want to attract. So I think it's really, really good to think how you can create a world, and an aspect of that world, so the cherry on the cake, can be experienced via VR, and especially it can be experienced via sort of location-based VR, full body immersive kind of experience, because that will just be really seen and covered and will excite audiences. Now the other aspect is a lot of the startups, and it's going to become harder and harder in the year 2017 as we start seeing sort of the first bigger failures of VR, and so it's going to be a harder year to survive. But still, the startups that have some kind of proprietary technologies that are creating tools are still receiving quite a bit of generous funding from the venture capitalists, and they all do need to prove that their technology is worthwhile and that they can produce interesting content with it. And
That
so
is another one of the
to match
sources.
yourself with not just the Oculus 5, Sony, PlayStation, but also a bunch of companies in that startup scene that some of them raise in the high tens of millions of dollars. I think that's an interesting way to fund cool content.
Thank you. We only have a few minutes left, so I'm going to have to open it up to the audience. Yes, sir, what's your question?
Do you guys have any 360 VR projects you'd like to recommend as what you think is starting to achieve?
The question is, do we have any killer apps that we can recommend? We talked about some things that don't work. What is working for you?
Pearl, for 360 videos ago. Pearl is, at its heart, it's a music video, but it's a cute story about a girl in a car. And it's, I happen to know Patrick Osborne, who directed it, but regardless, it's a really solid 360 video piece to check out. You can see it on YouTube.
Other candidates for awesome experiences?
Well, I think we're going to start to see it now on Sony PlayStation 4 and just like first quarter of 2017. I think we're going to start to see some, just because now we have the ability to see some better quality. But I would look in the what's been done in some of the news journalism space. There are some heroes there.
Jenny, any suggestions?
Somebody was showing me, I think it was called Luna yesterday, that was looked really compelling. I really like looking at things that aren't just another first-person shooter experience. That doesn't really interest me on any level, really, but I know that that's the first VR gaming place that people go, and I think that for me, the VR and immersive entertainment is so experiential, and I think that it has the power to impact people in a really visceral way. I think that that's something, to me, that we should be also looking at, is how we're impacting people in society.
Well, when the transmedia thing was first blowing up and people asked me, what have I seen that I want to recommend? I came up with a one-liner that seems to have persisted, which is, I'm waiting for it to make me cry. And, the reality is that it's almost a virtual reality experience in a movie when you're captivated that's the bar for me. Monica, do you have any candidates for great experiences that you want to recommend to the audience?
Are we talking about 360 or?
Either one.
I would say Everest VR by Sulfur. I, again, do not love horror-based stuff and sort of violence-based stuff because I feel that as technology gets better, it will actually induce real-life PTSD. So definitely into, experiences that, sort of are all about making us curious and making us want to explore, making us want to move, and especially stuff that is interactive. And I think Everest is really that, because you find yourself on Mount Everest, the landscape is absolutely gorgeous, you can actually walk, you can walk across the bridge, you can climb the bridge, and you get more than as if you were just on, the word just is not suitable, but if you were on the physical Everest, you'd be rushing and being afraid of getting into an avalanche, etc., etc. Whereas here you can explore and marvel at your leisure, and you really sort of start realizing how incredible our planet is, and want to go back into your physical life and explore maybe the landscape around you.
Good.
So I think it's a beautiful case.
That's a good example. I think we're going to get the high sign, but I'll take anybody else have a final question. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it seems like for, several years, VR has been more about, concept, and maybe a lot of the funding that goes into it is sort of about developing the technology, and maybe the stories and it's kind of been secondary to the technology itself. And maybe I'm just kind of curious about the people who are funding these projects, maybe in the past, not really concerned with the profitability of the story itself. And, as this technology becomes more mainstream with Sony or Oculus, how that might change the funding or the expectations of the people who invest in this, and how important the storyline becomes. Can you respond to that or talk about how right or wrong that is?
I'm hearing a lot from everyone that right now all the money's going into the tech. But we need to remember that the tech's only cool for a minute, and then it has to be the entertainment value. Does it move you? Does it compel you to want to experience more? Because I always figure that I'm successful if you've completely forgotten about the tech and you're fully immersed in the story or the experience. Narrative's changing a little bit. It's more about experience than watching a story on a screen. So, are you moved by that experience? Are you compelled to see more or look for more in that immersive world? I think that really quickly the tech will get boring.
Well, Jen, you work in a lot of the studios, and if you were at the dinner the other night, there was a lineup of, Warner Brothers and Legendary and Fox and the others. And I think it's fairly safe to say that the first segment of funding, which is the ancillary marketing thing, is going to become standardized for most tentpole movies in Hollywood within the next, they're being created now. Ready Player One will have a virtual reality experience because it's a virtual reality storyline in the regular movie. And I think that generally speaking, that's going to begin to happen, and if there's an audience for it, it'll begin to build it. So to some degree, what the questioner is asking is a matter of time, but I would also say for independents who are not financed by studios, largely, we're still waiting for some, kind of aha breakthroughs that might be hitting the standards we're talking about here.
I think what Nick said, which is that we need things that make us cry, is absolutely fundamental. Your point is slightly trickier to parse because, yes, of course, story is important, but at the end of the day, until there's ticket sales or some kind of subscription model, the reason why there's so much money invested in hardware and IP and tech IP is because that's where the exits are. Because in the next 18 to 24 months, when, as has been pointed out, a lot of these companies will fail, that raised a lot of money initially because the valuations were wrong or because they're joint, then what will happen is that, sorry, it's a bad joke. What will happen is that the you're raising money because you can exit these companies, you can create successful environments. And yes, there are certainly people who have raised for content. Bearbad is the most recent example. They raised their B round of 25 million. That's rare, and it's very hard to do that. However, I think when this all needs to move forward in tandem, a rising tide lifts all ships. If we make better content, people will eventually start paying for this, because people pay for things that they like using. They pay $1 for Little Angry Birds type games because of the fact that they spend a lot of time on them. So those models are still being evolved, but I absolutely think that a very, very fundamental aspect of this is story. A lot of the industry doesn't quite get it as obviously as perhaps you're thinking they might, but it'll come, because it's inevitable. Without story, we don't have compelling experiences, we don't have emotion, and we're never going to have attention.
I mean, I think if it ever got to the point where you get like a Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt, the talent to make a movie in VR or 3D, and it'd be something that you can sell tickets to on a broad scale, or through HBO.
Well, how about the sequel to Blade Runner, which is being, where there's a VR experience?
I mean, it'll happen in less than 12 months. I think the major Hollywood name talent will be in something. I mean, the Invisible, which you may have heard about, was a project that came out fairly recently that was high profile Hollywood director involved. For some reason my mind's blanking on the name of the guy. Can someone help me out? He directed Born Identity. Doug Liman. There we go. Doug Liman. Doug Liman was very, very major.
And there was an ad in New York for that this week.
Yeah. So that's on the directing side. So certainly the talent is one or two steps away at best. Talent chases money because it's their agents don't want to do these deals because their 10% slice of 0 is 0. So it's coming. It's literally it is going to be Sony or Oculus dropping the dollars for a major star or Google or somebody. But it'll be in the next 12 months. The conversations are being had.
Not only is it coming, but so is the end of this panel. I want to thank the audience for it filled up nicely, and I'd like to especially thank our panelists, including Mark and Lorraine. Thank you for your assistance and for your participation. And just as a summary, I think what we're experiencing here is what we always experience on the creative side, which is we all want it to be as good as we possibly can make it. And for myself, I would say that that's only going to happen when there's a large influx of creative talent from all sources. And we've seen time and time again, as Nick mentioned with Sunday